This list is a disaster. Akademiks is at number one, and we need to talk about it. As a hip hop journalist for almost 15 years now, you knew I had to get into this complex list. This list is terrible. Now, I'm going to start with a disclaimer. In the past, I have freelanced for Complex, I was interviewed by them before, and all my interactions with them have been great. Everyone I know who works there has been super professional. I really believe that they have a lot of pride in their work. That's what makes this list even more shocking, that a place like Complex would put together this list and stand by it. Complex has said that this is an impact list. Who made the greatest impact? But as we go through this conversation, I want you to think about this idea. Do you differentiate a good impact and a negative impact? And that's something that I think we have to think about throughout this list. Now, before we break it down, the idea of hip hop media is very general. It's very broad. We could be talking about magazines and online publications, television, radio, podcasts, broadcasters, authors. It just runs the gamut. So I think for our purposes, this list is a broadcaster list. We have a couple of radio OGs, so shout outs to people like Angie Martinez, the Voice of New York. We also have a lot of people who've been in the industry for a very long time, but the bulk of this list are newcomers. It's people that I would say haven't really come up in the industry. They don't have a lot of experience. They went to Amazon, got a mic. This mic is like $60, and they started recording. And a lot of people started following them for a variety of reasons, which we'll get into, and that's what gives them an impact. So off the top, DJ Akademiks is number one on the list. I don't even know what to say. Akademiks is universally known as problematic. Whether it's the way that he sort of moves in this industry, the way he inserts himself into what's going on in hip hop, the fake news that he disseminates. We saw a lot of this in the Drake and Kendrick battle. We saw this with Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez and the things that he was saying, that instead of sharing information and news, he has no problem sharing misinformation. And what's really funny is what Complex wrote about him. This is literally the paragraph that they're giving him his flowers, but I think it's worth us looking at together. He, Akademiks, represents what rap fans and rappers prioritize in hip-hop media right now. Not necessarily truth or ethics, but entertainment with an anti-establishment streak. It's not always great, if we're being honest. Okay, hold up. So essentially, Complex, who put this list together, is saying Akademiks is not great. He doesn't have any real truth or ethics, but that's what the people want, so that's what we're giving them. That makes literally no sense to me. It's one thing to say that pandering to the lowest common denominator is what's popular right now. You look across the board, hip-hop media, sports media, politics. I mean, I can't even watch cable news anymore. It's just talking heads screaming at each other. It's all about just getting the ratings up and not sharing the actual news. But that's not a good thing. And it really breaks my heart that a media company that's been around as long as Complex, instead of knowing that, being able to differentiate that to their readers, they're just kind of putting their hands up like, well, this is where we are. And if you can't beat them, join them. A lot of you probably know that Akademiks, one of the first big platforms he got on was Complex. So I don't know, behind the scenes, do they feel some sort of pride seeing his success? Do they feel they have a role in his success? Yeah, maybe. But again, that's not a compliment. He was given legitimacy by brands like Complex, by brands like Spotify, but having these stamps by places that are supposedly well known, you're giving him that legitimacy. You're giving him a cosign. That's why he's as big as he is. And I don't think Complex understands they had a role in creating this monster. The craziest part of the write-up, you got to scroll down a little, is where Complex essentially says, Ak has a weird case against him. No, I'm not lying. They literally say, in May, his ex-girlfriend filed a lawsuit in civil court accusing him of rape. Really? Of all the people in the world you could celebrate, we need to amplify someone who has a case against them for sexual assault. Not from a long time ago. It's not from the rumor mill. A lawsuit was filed like 2 months ago. I almost feel like Complex put that out as a disclaimer. They knew there was going to be backlash to this list. So this is them just saying, hey, you know what? We get it. We understand what you're going to say. So this is us kind of washing our hands of any liability. Like it's crazy to me. Imagine someone getting an award, but before they get the award, the organization says, oh, by the way, we know that they're problematic in their professional and personal life, but we still have to give them an award. Now check out what they say later. Neither the serious allegations nor the response has done much to diminish his impact. Yeah, you literally put him on a list at number 1. What do you think? And then they continue. That in itself is revealing about both his career and the current rap media landscape at large, including Complex. Like, the call is coming from inside of the house. I'm not really sure why even put this disclaimer. If you're going to stand by someone, stand by your man, stand on 10 toes and be like, you know what? We don't care. This person may have allegations. They might be spreading fake news, misinformation, cozying up to people like Donald Trump's son. We don't care, because at the end of the day, it's clicks over everything. I actually respect a brand that does that instead of sort of being wishy-washy. Here, I can't tell if they're giving him an award or giving him an award while putting a bag on their head. Like, none of this makes sense. You might think Akademiks is the only problematic person on this list. No, there's actually more. Let's scroll up to the Adam 22 section. So Adam 22 of No Jumper is this white guy out of Florida who garnered fame by interviewing SoundCloud rappers. People like XXXTentacion, like all of these artists that at the time weren't being interviewed by traditional media, mostly because they were problematic, they would go straight to No Jumper. Now, I understand when you do something like that, you are differentiating your place in the market. However, Adam kept going deeper and deeper. As it says here, he's interviewed white supremacists. He's posted, quote, very dubious information, that means lies, regarding the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion shooting case. If you can imagine, it gets even worse. If you scroll down, it says, but Adam appears more interested in darker, controversial content. That's a really nice way of saying he's interviewing people, such as a guy who claimed he was part of Pop Smoke's murder. And no, it's not interviewing them because there's a journalistic angle, or perhaps the interview can deter future tragedies. He's doing it for clicks. And there are quite a few people on this list. I would call them cultural tourists. I would call them voyeurs, fetishists. I don't even think they love hip hop. I honestly feel like they're using it as a way to gain their own clout, build a brand. They don't care about the detrimental effects to the artists, to the fans, to sort of the culture at large. And you can tell. It's just crazy to me that a brand like Complex seems very cognizant of that, but they still want to celebrate and amplify them. You might say to me, you know what, Sowmya, you're just being a hater. These are the guys getting all the clicks. These are the ones who are making headlines in hip hop. How many news stories have broke from this list? Like, let's really think about it. If we think of the biggest news stories, what people in hip hop have been really talking about, a lot of those conversations aren't being had by people on this platform because they're either too scared to have them, they may have political connections with those people involved, or maybe they're just not professionally capable of having them. And because of that, I would have loved to see this list actually featuring real reporting. Look at something like Rolling Stone. Anytime there's a hip hop Me Too story, they're the ones covering it. It's almost come to a point where they're the de facto outlet where you go to read that type of serious journalism. Shout outs to someone like a Cheyenne Roundtree or Nancy Dillon. They're the ones who did extensive reporting on Sean Puffy Combs' allegations. Also got a shout out Andre G, who's a great hip hop commentator at Rolling Stone, a young guy, but I love his perspective. Craig Jenkins over at Vulture. I always love reading his hot takes on things. Even something like A Louder Than a Riot. Unfortunately, NPR did cancel that platform, but Louder Than a Riot, Sidney Madden, Rodney Carmichael, they were doing actual reporting. Difficult conversations at times, but necessary conversations. And you could tell in their reporting, there was still a love of hip hop. A lot of the names on this list, and it really makes me question, do you even care about hip hop? Do you care about your professional reputation or having a long career in this industry? Or is it about the quick click and the short bag? I'm not sure. How does this all matter? At the end of the day, this is just a list. Complex got their content off. I'm sure after seeing this video, you're going to click on the list. They're going to get some more clicks out of it. Cool. I'm thinking big picture. We've had so many conversations behind the scenes in the music industry in recent times about the idea of gatekeeping. Across the board, everyone agrees the gatekeeper is dead. And because of that, everyone got to just enter the room. Now anyone who goes on Amazon and buys a microphone is immediately an expert, an analyst. No one questions what your credentials are, how many years in the game have you done, what kind of work reputation do you have? Do you move with ethics and integrity? And I feel right now we're veering to a place where it doesn't matter. If problematic men keep getting celebrated, they keep getting co-signed, they keep getting opportunities, what kind of hip hop do you think gets co-signed? Really think about that. We're just in a time now where I think that the pendulum has swung so far that anything is acceptable. Anyone can call themselves a rapper. Anyone can call themselves a hip hop media personality or a journalist. So on that note, one thing I want to do on this platform, I'm going to start amplifying great examples of hip hop journalism, whether it's in publications, interviews, anything that I feel needs more eyeballs. A lot of times the best work simply doesn't get celebrated. So if I can, in whatever small or large way, share with you things that I think you should be onto, I'm going to use my platform to do that. If you're reading something or something kind of catches your eye that you think we should be sharing on this channel, let me know. Make sure you hit me at Sowmya K on social media and share those links. I think the only way we can elevate this conversation is by elevating the conversation. I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think about the hip hop media power list, or as I call it, the hip hop troll list? Except a few of my friends who are on there, so shout outs to the 4 people who I actually respect on this list. But what do you think about this list? Do you agree, and do you think that they made a great list? Do you think that we need to have sort of a resurrection of real hip hop media? Maybe there's a balance we can strike in the middle between entertainment and gossip and more serious journalism. I would love to know your thoughts.